In this video, I'm going to give you an idea of how to construct a tank ditch with berm, or just plain a tank ditch depending on the configuration. Now, the one that I've seen the most common is what's referred to as a rectangular ditch, which is this one here. Basically, you have level flat ground and you're using your blade asset to cut into the ground roughly a rectangular shape. Now, the spoil or dirt that is removed is placed on the friendly side, creating a berm. So our enemy is approaching from this direction, going this way. Now, the dimensions on this should really be considered the minimum. It is supposed to be a minimum of 3.3 meters wide and a minimum of 1.5 meters deep. Now, the reason for that, for it being the minimum, you really should make it wider so that it can counter enemy AVLB bridges or armored vehicle launch bridges. Most that I'm aware of can easily bridge a gap between 5 to 8 meters wide and still have enough of an abutment on the end, enough overhang with the bridge on the sides of the ditch to support it, so it's not going to collapse when a tank goes across. But according to U.S. doctrine, it's supposed to be 3.3 meters minimum. I would consider at least 5. Now, the next type that would be possible, and this would be in hilly and mountainous terrain, would be a side hill cut ditch. So we got a hill that comes down here, the slope. Well, we cut out the base of the hill to make it harder for vehicles to get up, and also infantry. Now, in this one, you want that wall or side of the ditch you're creating at least 2 meters high. And then they estimate you're going to be cutting out about 4.5 to 6 meters of the foot of the hill here. Now, the spoil that comes from this cut gets deposited here in front, and it gets spread out over a large distance so that the enemy cannot send in their blade assets, drop the blade, and push all the dirt up here easily so that they get their ramp coming in. Now, how this is constructed. This is typically done with a blade team or a dozer team. What that means is you have 2 earth-moving vehicles. One will advance inside the ditch, and one will be on the outside pushing the spoil. So I got here a rectangular ditch. I do not have vehicles I can use here, actual dozer type vehicles for a sand table, so I'm just going to have to use some APCs here to simulate. So we got one blade asset that's inside the ditch. He angles down every so often till he gets the depth that he needs, and then he starts pulling up as he gets to the end here and pushes the spoil out in front of him up here. Then he backs down a ways to get ready for his next run. The other part of the blade team is on the outside here, and as soon as that spoil's in front and he's backing down, he pushes forward, pushing that dirt to add it to the berm. Then he pulls back and positions himself for the next cut. So the next one comes in, he comes in, pushes a little more up over the top, he moves forward, and then they keep positioning or keep rearranging themselves with the one that's on top, pulling to the side about the width of his vehicle, whether it's a dozer or some other earth mover, and keeps pushing forward, angling himself over. Now, for how long this typically takes, I looked in my squad leader book, and it says it takes for about 1 hour of dig time, going off of these dimensions up here. An armored combat earth mover or M9 Ace can dig approximately 50 meters of ditch in length. Compare that to a dozer such as a Caterpillar D7 dozer. They can cut 70 meters of ditch. The dozer has more power, more weight behind it, so it can push more earth with each push inside the trench. So it can get more of it in front of it to get out, to get pushed by the blade asset out here. Now, something that I've seen with mixed dig teams on doing this, you'll have like the dozer inside the ditch because they can dig faster, and then the M9 Ace would be on the outside of the ditch pushing it forward and then constantly repositioning. But ideally, you should have two of the same model of vehicle on the dig team, because you can run into the situation where the dozer pushes so much spoil out that the Ace cannot push it forward. It just exceeds the capabilities of that Ace, because the Ace is a lighter vehicle for push capabilities, dig capabilities. But hopefully this gives you somewhat of an idea on how to emplace or construct an anti-tank ditch. I'll mention this, just some quick notes on the rectangular ditch. Why you put the spoil on the backside, it's to prevent the enemy from just coming right up and pushing the spoil back into the ditch and then just moving forward across it easily. And also it interferes with breaching the ditch with an armored launch, an AVLB bridge. Because what ends up happening here is the spoil is usually right by the edge of the ditch over here. So when they come in and they try putting in the bridge, it ends up getting put at a weird angle where part of it is up on the berm, bridging from here to say maybe halfway up. And then they'll have to readjust the bridge. Or another thing that I've seen, if there was enough of a shelf here, I've seen them lay the bridge down and they basically rammed it across up into the berm a bit in order to get a better footing on the other side. I will do a video on breaching anti-tank ditches and berms next. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot and Militia movements, always remember, essay ons.